He was the archetypal dictator, all-powerful, brutal. Islam Karimov ruled Uzbekistan with an iron fist for 27 years. He even put his own daughter under house arrest. But tonight's state television ended nearly a week of rumours about his health. Our dear president has died, said the announcer. A great man, a man of peace. His critics would dispute that. Karimov created a police state, one of the most repressive in the world. He imprisoned thousands of opponents, and in the cotton fields of Uzbekistan relied heavily on forced labour. In 2005, President Karimov ordered his army to crush anti-government protests in the city of Andijan. It's believed that hundreds of civilians were killed. Karimov blamed the violence on Islamic extremists. A former British ambassador to Uzbekistan believes the West was guilty of staying silent.
But undoubtedly the West turned a blind eye to human rights abuses in Uzbekistan. Initially this was because of Afghanistan, the fact that the Americans and the Germans both had air bases in Uzbekistan operating into Afghanistan. But the strategic position of Uzbekistan has led to the West really being, shamefully neglectful of the human rights position in Uzbekistan and at times lying about it.
And President Karimov continued to be courted both by the West and by the East. Russia competing with China and America for influence in Central Asia.
The reason that Moscow and Beijing and the West will be watching very closely what happens next in Uzbekistan isn't only to do with geopolitical rivalry, it's about security. If there's a power struggle over who succeeds President Karimov, the fear is that Islamist militants in the region will exploit that to destabilise the whole of Central Asia.
But Karimov's critics say he used the fight against radical Islam as an excuse to crush all opposition. And yet, in Uzbekistan tonight, there is said to be a deep sense of shock. After a quarter of a century in power, many Uzbeks have known no other leader. Steve Rosenberg, BBC News, Moscow.